Hey guys, this is Adrian from PDC coming at you with yet another video. Today, we have with me a lot of the team members of PDC. This is our brand new podcast, the Gear 5 podcast. You may have seen us from the tier list video we made over a month ago. We're back at it again. This is After Nats, and I have with me Chewy, Jeff, Steven, and Supra. What's up, guys?
What's up?
Yo, what's up?
What up?
Yo, so a quick announcements. We do have a Patreon running, and now that we are after nationals and just competing in our normal local tournaments and regional and treasure cups, we are spending a lot of our resource and time now towards our Patreon. So if you guys like coaching and also want to improve at One Piece trading card game, please consider joining our Patreon. And we're hard at work making a lot of really good content over on the YouTube side and over on the Patreon side as well. But today what we want to talk about is just nationals and everything that's happened. So let's get right into it. So guys, how was nationals for everyone? Chewy?
I'm glad it's over, bro. I'm glad it's over.
Same.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah, so
it's a common sentiment across the community.
yeah, how did everyone do?
I could become a spectator after this tournament.
Yeah.
I went X2, but I got owned by tiebreakers at the end.
What did you bring, Jeff?
I played PLuffy, which was probably the right choice for me at that current time.
Nice.
But I still think Saksuki is still the best deck in the format, 100%.
Yep.
Did you enjoy bringing Luffy? Did you think that hey, this deck actually? Do you think the deck performed?
I think my deck did exactly what we wanted the deck to do. That being said, you're still playing Luffy, so you're still losing against Sokka. But I think our list punishes mediocre Sokkas, and I think it's a good deck to play if you really don't want to play Sokka.
What were your two losses this event?
Well, round 3. So I had a 2-round bye. So round 3, I sit down, I play an L, I think, and then we get repaired. And I'm like, great. And then I get patched into an ace, which is a terrible matchup.
Oof.
So that was my first loss. And then my second loss was when I played a Sokka. I drew 0 ramp the whole game, and I lost by 1k. So that was shit. Yep.
I think in hindsight, you did make the right choice, so to speak, because of how the whole thing ran Saturday. So
yeah, I'm actually very happy. I played 3 Sokkas total. And I beat 2 Sokkas, so the deck definitely performed.
Yeah.
I think we could go into it later, but I played my last round at 11 p.m. My opponent was honestly kind of misplaying a lot, just playing Sokka, and I'm just slamming down big bodies. So it was very chill for me, as chill as 11 p.m. gaming can be, I guess. But,
yeah, that was nuts.
Yeah, it was a super tough event. And considering how, we talk about how the event ran, and I think we're gonna cover that a lot more later on. But just for the viewers, there was only 10 rounds in Swiss when I think originally there was supposed to be 11, and we had a lot of our members teeter towards the bubble. So a lot of us was X2 with 2 losses, and just if we won one more round, we would most likely be in the top 64. So I know that 4 or 5 of our team members were in that category, and unfortunately there wasn't a final round to get us over the hump. But I also think all of us played really well. I mean, we all brought our A game for sure. And sometimes it's just the luck of the draw, and being tired going into 11-12 p.m. and not having just the right pairing and all that stuff, right guys?
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. But yeah, so I do want to speak a little bit on the members that aren't here. We do have one member that one of our teammates that did make it to the top 64, David Zhang. He was playing Sakazuki. So congratulations, David, for making it to the top cut. You know,
Yes, congrats to our boy.
yeah, our boy's dope. But yeah, aside from that, I mean, I made a video about it earlier, but I did hit the top 16. Got a little bit lucky with my matchups. I think, you know, I ran into 3 mirrors, 2 Katakuris, 2 NLs, and just 1 RP Luffy rush variant. So like, I think we had one of our teammates, Alan, who barely missed the top 64 by 4 spots, and his losses were against Whitebeard. So if
Both of them.
yeah, both
Yeah.
his only 2 losses was against Whitebeard. So I think if it were me in those shoes, I'd also have a tough time against Whitebeard and probably rack some losses on my side as well.
And he was playing Sokka.
Yes, and he was playing Sakazuki.
Would you say that's a tougher? Do you think Alan had a tougher matchup spread than you did overall?
I think if he played against 2 Whitebeards, I think he maybe had 1 more tough matchup, but I think in general, for the most part, I was on my A game that day, so kind of lucky that my conditioning was up there. But yeah, I mean, even
Adrian,
what's up?
oh, sorry, but you went undefeated in Swiss, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Was there any matchup you thought was kind of difficult, even though you went undefeated?
No, they were the mirrors were actually the easiest games. I felt very comfortable throughout all of them. I think the mirror is my best matchup. It's the one that I understand the most. So it just seemed like a lot of the Sakas were lacking in the tournament, which is why I think that us as NA, we might be the weaker region going into Worlds, in my opinion. But we do have some time to kind of like prepare for it, right? I think I've been talking to, you know, a lot of these top players, and I think everyone's sort of kind of bonding together in preparation for Worlds. I think we really want Jackson and Jonas to like do really well. So I'm definitely gonna put in some practice sessions in with Jackson to see, you know, how I can help, you know, if I can help. But it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be super fun.
Yeah, for sure.
That would be dope because that would help them out. But not only that, but it would bring your game up too if you know.
Yeah, I think a lot of the top players and that like have formed teams already. Like I know, you know, we're a team, and Jonas and Jackson have their own teams. But I think it'd be really cool for NA to just kind of like come together and you know, teams, you know, practice with other teams and get better, like level up, and as an entire scene together. I think that'd be, you know, very, very interesting for us. Yeah,
It's pretty interesting how like later, as soon as Nats came up, like everybody like formed their own groups and they kind
Yeah.
of raced each other up. That was kind of super interesting how it happened at the same time almost.
yeah. It's almost like a necessity. Like everyone wanted to do really well, but I think just in general as players, I don't think that we can get better just alone. I think it's much harder. I know that, you know, this event I had you guys you know, practicing with me, helping me practice, and like Steven in particular, like he was kind of our team captain. You know, helped us discover a lot of these dark horse decks that, you know, we otherwise wouldn't have been really prepared for. You know, before Nats, I think we discovered what Whitebeard being really, really strong, RP Luffy being really strong, Purple Luffy being a much better matchup into Sakazuki than we initially thought. And if we didn't have that preparation, you know, I think a lot of us would do a lot worse.
Yeah, I would
I
agree. I would argue, like, I think Steven was pretty much the main focal point pushing everybody towards like to like, you know, just get better and just like figuring out like different stuff.
Yeah, Steven, what do you have
Right?
to say for that?
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, guys.
No, like actually like seriously. What was your like Steven, what was your thought process like, you know, starting to train for Nats and stuff like?
So I've played competitively in multiple games, and the reality is that as individuals, there's only so much time we have, right? And so much experience you can gain from just playing the card game. When you're able to take a group of 6-7 people and then combine all our experiences, it exponentially improves all of us, right? Because not only am I having my own experience, I have your experience to add on to my experience. And if we're able to discuss in a constructive manner, then we all improve. So I think, like, you know, and just to level up in the game for a lot of our viewers who are, you know, about to start their journey or earlier on their journey, the best way to really level up is to find people your skill level and work together to keep going up. Talk to the more experienced players in your area, get their perspective, and just really just like, this is a social game, right? It's a game where you go in every day to your locals, you get to meet new people, and you should take advantage of that and get to know people and run through it.
Yeah.
Yo.
Yep. Well said.
I definitely agree. Like,
Yep,
I mean,
agree.
Alan isn't here, but yeah, like everybody here knows, like, dude, I would get crushed day in, day out at locals against Alan, and then it just got me, like, you know, learning from him to make me like a way better player. And like, I'm still not there yet, but you know, you just gotta learn from the better player and go from there.
Yeah. And Steven, I know that you didn't do as well as you wanted. You know, obviously you wanted to make the top cut at nationals, but I did hear you got second place, and you led your team to victory in the 3-on-3, and you earned yourself a top player prize.
Yes, that's true. I did do pretty well on a side event that got us, the whole team, 3 of us, a top player card each. So that was really fun.
Yeah.
Personally, 3v3s are my favorite events, because not only do you have to win, but you have to have your teammates win, and you have to encourage each other, push each other, and I think that's one of the most fun parts about the game.
Yep. Yeah.
Dude, you're like 2 for 2 at 3v3s now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess you know, it's really fun hearing about us, you know, talk about, you know, how we prepared for Nats, what we all did. But yeah, let's talk about what happened last weekend at nationals. Obviously there's so much talk about it on the internet, on Twitter, on YouTube. Guys, what exactly happened at nationals? Why was it such a poop show, so to speak?
Best Coast pairings. I think that's like the main.
Where do we begin?
Play TCG meets Best Coast pairings.
Core TCG.
But I think how it went is that Bondi hired Play that hired Core. It was technically Play, because Play uses Best Coast pairings, and I think Core.
No, I thought this event was run by Core TCG.
No, I think it was Play.
No, I think it's Play.
So
Really?
Play hired the manpower of Core, but they used Play's system.
That's what I got as well.
Yeah, because
But I think the main
Core
focal
probably
point was
used
the
Arcane.
Best Coast pairings.
Okay. I just want to give context to, you know, the audience. Basically, this it's pretty well known now that this event was, at least logistically speaking, a crap show. Basically, we were supposed to start about, I think, like 9:30 a.m. in the morning, and our the first game of the tournament, I think, started around 12:30 to 1. We basically had to, after the tournament started, we basically had no breaks. We had to go up all the way till midnight, and throughout the entire tournament, there was multiple, as in like 3, 4, or 5 repairings. A lot of players who got buys, invites from nationals, which means they don't need to play the first 2 rounds. They were checked in incorrectly, and so 500 to 600 of us would have to walk back into line and basically check in all over again. On top of that, a lot of players weren't paired correctly with other players, or they weren't paired at all, and so it was just a complete nightmare for the judges, for the players, basically for everyone, and none of us really enjoyed competing as much as we should, right? Usually when you go to an event as big as the nationals, you really just want to relax, you want to play your game, and you want to get good results. But a lot of the good stuff from this tournament was marred by the fact that there was just so much that was going wrong. And you know, the biggest thing to blame, right? Our biggest culprit is really Best Coast pairing as a software. It didn't pair us correctly. The website wouldn't load. What do you guys think about that?
Do you mind if I add to it real quick?
Yeah.
Just for some more background.
Yep.
Because of the delays of the tournament, one of the biggest problems was that the tournament was ended around short. So because of this, a lot of players who normally when you go X2 in a tournament, you expect to top 64,
Yes.
typically in one piece. But in this case, we have people who top 60, who went X2 and didn't even top 128. They finished like 130, 140. So imagine going 8-2 in a tournament and then not even getting top 128 prizing. It was a really upsetting experience for those players, and to be honest, it's like very unacceptable.
Yeah.
And to add on to that, the whole time when they're running the tournament, they kept saying, "We're gonna play all 11 rounds today, all 11 rounds today." So you know, we were kind of like expecting that. You know, like we were prepared to tough it out, play 11 rounds, go to 1 a.m.
But that was after the delay. So after the delays, they were like, we're gonna do 11 rounds, and they were pretty sure like all day, until like they basically kicked us out.
Yeah, that was like the real slap in the face too. It's like just the cherry on top, honestly.
Yeah.
I think this was a trend throughout a lot of people's buys, but like we had a 2-round buy, right? And we waited 6 hours for our first game. And
Right.
a lot of us, including myself, like our first game was a loss because we were probably super cold. We were not having fun. You know, usually this is like an event where we want to remember, we want to do well, and it wasn't a fun time from start to finish.
Yeah, like I wasn't even relaxing because I was one of those people who got paired round 1. So I had to wait in line. It was a really long line too. So like get that fixed, and I was like stressing out over it. I'm like, why do I even have this spot then if this is gonna happen, right? Like it just feels really bad.
Yeah.
I guess just for like a little fun little info, whenever we had to wait in line to like fix our buys and stuff, I actually I was on the way there by myself, and I actually met up with Jonas. I don't know if I told you guys this. So I met up with Jonas, and then I kind of knew who he was, so I think he ran up to me, and then he was asking about where he should get in line for like to fix all the buy stuff, and then so he just went with me to go wait in line, and we were just chopping it up, and then who would have known that he would end up taking first. So I was like, that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I think tournament aside, like I know that the tournament itself was terrible, was run really poorly, but I think what did you guys think about Bondi Fest? Like just like the event, I feel like personally I really liked it. Like Dragon Ball, Union Arena, One Piece. Yeah, what'd you guys think?
I think it was pretty cool with all like the little booths and everything up.
No, it was sick.
Yeah.
I did not expect that at all. I thought it would just be like just the tournament, or like 4 tournaments, I guess.
I know from the spectator perspective, I know none of us were spectators, but I know from the spectator perspective, they came in a little bit after us, right? They came in around day one, and then they were allowed in with the rest of us day 2. But I know from their perspective, like I heard getting into the side events day 1 and day 2 were really tough for the spectators.
Yeah.
So I hope they could improve on that. So
Not
that,
only
like, if someone
that-
comes out, they can actually participate and at least participate in these side events.
Were the side events a part of Bandai's job, or was that play?
I would still play. I'm
I
assuming.
think all the logistics stuff is all played.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah,
But
I mean,
it was weird
it might be
because they were letting people join online, but they were then kicking them out because they wanted to do it like with the people in line. But yeah, it was kind of weird.
yeah.
I mean, as far as Bandai Fest, I really do love like all the performances. I think the voice actor was up on stage doing performances. They had the sing along for like the opening and all that.
And it was impossible to get their event exclusive figurines. Like, sold out immediately.
Dude,
I didn't even realize they were like selling them. Did you guys get any?
No, it
No,
was always sold
no.
out.
yeah.
We were focused on the tournament, right? Like we didn't
Yeah.
think about that stuff.
Yeah,
I didn't even know there were
Kind of
any
a shame.
I got some
Yeah.
chopper Tamagotchis, and you know, I'm taking good care of my chopper. He's actually evolved from Romance Dawn chopper to now the New World chopper, and he's transformed already. But my fiance, I bought her one, and her chopper died. So yeah, instead of dying, chopper is you know, he starts waving goodbye to you, and then a Navy ship comes, and apparently he's abducted by the Marines, and all that's left is a wanted poster. So yeah, shout out
So
to
sad.
my fiance who sucks at raising her Tamagotchis.
She's gonna listen to this. She's gonna be like,
Nah, she's right next to me. She's laughing right now. But no, overall, I think Bondi Fest really opened up my eyes to just how amazing or how far the company has come. Like, it wasn't just One Piece. It was One Piece, Dragon Ball, Union Arena, and there were so many, like thousands and thousands, not just players, just spectators, fans, players that are not signed up for the main event but want to come in here just to like celebrate the festivities. Like, I got really inspired by just walking around with you guys during the downtime. Like, we went through all the booths and all the exhibitions. There was like a scavenger hunt, but there was also displays of, you know, all the cards that, you know, we see, that we play, but also cards like that are released in the future, and they were just, you know, up there, you know, looking really shiny. And I think,
yeah, that was awesome.
yeah, I think all in all, it really celebrated how far One Piece card game has come, and, you know, what a good job that Bondi is actually, you know, pretty much, you know, all in all have done for the game. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah, and then
yeah, go ahead.
Adrian, you do make a great point. Like, it is Bandai Fest. Like, it's not just One Piece Fest. So I think because we're all players, we're more biased.
Yeah.
But it was a full Bandai Fest with all the other games and like all the other things. So I think for the first year, like, of course there could be improvements, but you know, I think it was good.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is Bandai Fest has happened not just this year, right? It's just that it's the first year with One Piece.
Oh,
Right?
really?
Yeah.
But
I do think
Oh, I didn't actually know.
like they had Dragon Ball just in one section because they really want to promote their new game or their reboot, but I think One Piece by itself could have a whole hall by itself, just with
yeah,
how many players.
For
there were.
sure, 100%.
Like, you could put Battle Spirits and Digimon and Dragon Ball in one exhibition hall, and they'll be super comfy. And One Piece is still gonna be packed.
I believe we were all there for Friday whenever we can check in early, right? And then like I think the One Piece line was like triple or even more so than like the other games.
yeah.
Yeah, it was.
I mean,
Yes,
I came a
someone who was
little
there
later,
early.
so I didn't see it, but I heard it was also really bad.
It was bad.
yeah, they were calling it Lion Con or something.
Yeah.
Actually-
It was like going to an anime convention.
Yeah.
Like, it was bad.
But
Which
let
is
me
weird.
ask you guys the question, like, you know, would you guys go to another Bondi Fest?
Yes.
Wouldn't
think
go
so.
as a spectator, but I would go as a participant.
Really?
Well,
I'm not
well,
sure.
I almost think the opposite because like I feel like if you're just there to like check the sides and stuff, like it's kind of cool. But oh man,
I-
that tournament was almost traumatizing, man.
I didn't enjoy Cardfest like just because of the tournament, so I might like going as a spectator because I didn't even do the scavenger hunt. I barely read the Uni Arena cards, and I couldn't
Yeah,
even
same here.
participate in any side event.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, let me rephrase that. I think I would go if I got invited for sure. But like besides that, it's like on the fence.
yeah. Oh, you guys are so.
I have to participate in Nats.
Yeah,
and that's just reluctantly because I'm like, okay, that's where Nats is.
You guys are so harsh. Like,
yeah.
I mean, as a competitor, right? Like, you almost have to go to Nats, but I think as a spectator, go ahead.
Sorry, no, I think I would go. Honestly, like I think it's just like the event's still a little too raw, but I think I still would definitely go again.
Yeah,
just to compete.
Yeah, but I mean, if I was a spectator, I think I would have a much better time, right? Like their shopping center was honestly like pretty cool. I know a lot of stuff sold out because it's usually really hard to gauge interest, but I mean they should have stocked more for sure. But there was a lot of items. There's One Piece cards. There was like figurines. There was Tamagotchis or Bomb Presto figures. I think the menu before it was sold out was actually pretty crazy. And having the opportunity to basically go through side events or like demo events for like 4 different card games. If I was a spectator, I'd be super hyped. I think I'd be really into a lot of those games if it was my first time seeing them.
I guess just to add, I think I'm like a little bit harsh because I do know some players from locals who didn't get to play in the main event but went as spectators. And some of them were a little bit disappointed because they traveled and all that, and then even as spectators, there was like long lines to like even get any product or merch. They can only do so much roaming around all the displays and the booths and stuff. Yep. And so they were disappointed that they didn't even get to play a side event. So I think if there were improvements there for next Bandai Fest, I think that's where they need to improve it for like at least the spectators.
Yeah, much more side events for sure. All right. Now that we've talked about the event, guys, how are we feeling? Nats is over, the grind is done. As a team, as individual players, like, what do you think? Like, has anything changed? Like, are you guys still excited about One Piece? Has your goals changed a bit? Go, starting with you, Chewy. Go ahead.
I'm ready to go back to fundamentals and just enjoy the game again. I took Nats a bit too seriously, so I took a safe pick, and it was my first time picking a safe pick, and I regret it. I brought an L instead of Sokka.
Yeah.
And I didn't enjoy it, and it wasn't a deck I thought I could win the whole thing with though. Definitely gonna be taking more risks again like I used to in the past, and I'm actually excited for the offline regionals coming in April.
Yeah. Jeff?
So, I've never really been a super big grinder, but meeting all these guys, they're all so motivated to compete. It just makes me want to compete. So, I think going forward, I just want to play more regionals, play more TCs. Before I'd be pretty lax about that kind of stuff, but I just want to do better, and do the best I can now. Yeah, so I'm kind of motivated, honestly, after Nets.
Oh yeah, Steven?
I think I just rolled at Nats. To be honest, on reflection, my games were kind of just games where I just didn't draw Hina, didn't draw my pieces, didn't have the outs. So it's one of those games where I look back and I'm like, okay, if I did this tournament 20 times, I think I would top 8 to 10 times. So I'm just all right, just go next, keep pushing forward. I think we have a solid team. I think we have a solid training group. I think if we continue to go more events, we're going to eventually, someone on our team is at least going to win a regional. So I think that's my next goal, is to push our team to bring home a regional trophy.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Supra?
Yeah, so I think as everybody knows, I think I definitely underperformed the most. I think going forward, I think one of my goals is to at least top a regional or a treasure cup. And yeah, just gotta probably work on other decks that probably isn't red, and just kind of go from there. And I also want to add with with like practice that you put in for like a regionals or like big tournament and stuff, not only is like skill about the game, and then I think it's also like, you know, your sleep and like your mental, and like just like your physical as well. Like just having all that in check does wonders. Because I think for like Nats, like the whole weekend, I literally probably had like maybe 5 hours of sleep total, like just the whole weekend. I just could not sleep or whatever, and I don't know if it was like nervous or whatever. I didn't feel like I was nervous, but I think just like taking all of that into account will definitely help.
Yep.
But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I think I'm also pretty motivated. Not gonna lie, I do feel a little bit burned out. If anything, I think you know, I was talking to Super about this, you know, in the car today, but after making my top, I do feel a little bit of pressure to perform on Sakazuki. I don't really know, you know, where my personal, you know, where I'm gonna go from here, but I do, you know, just like the rest of us, right? I think we all want to win a regionals or a treasure cup, you know, not just get a top placement, but I think we're all aiming to get a first place finish at some point. I think, you know, I also feel the same way, but I do think that this is a long game. You know, there's plenty of opportunity. You know, maybe nationals wasn't it for some of us, and you know, maybe, you know, sometimes we might not make the results that we want, but I think it's really cool that we made, you know, a community. We met a community, and you know, we made a team from this, and we're all helping each other grow and get better, and I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah, then I do want to add to Jeff's statement, like just seeing, you know, you do well, Adrian, and like David getting top, and just everybody doing well, it does like it does instill like a fire within you, right? It's like you want to get better, you know, seeing everybody else doing well. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right, so
Steven, I think you were like one of the first one of us who ever topped. I think you're the, you know, you brought home that one in Florida. You were the origin.
I'm gonna be honest, I was kind of thinking about that a little bit, because I remember, what was it? I remember it was on Discord. I think I posted on Discord, hey guys, check the PPG stream or whatever. And then I'm pretty sure it was you, Adrian. You were like, dude, Super, you freaking instilled like a will of fire in me or something. I don't know if you remember that. I think it was something. Yeah,
I think Super was one of the first people I met in the Bay Area like One Piece community, and I remember one day, you know, I saw him at locals a couple times, and he would always get first place at locals. And then one day he just like came to locals with like a bunch of really shiny cards, and then he had that like big smirk on his face, and he'd be like, "Hey guys, I won this! It's so cool! Come look at it!" And then he'd show us that serial Luffy card.
I had to show up.
And then yeah, I was just like, wow, like, and you know, outwardly I was like, yo, congratulations, good job. But in my head I was like, dang, I wish I could get that. So you know, that's when I started like looking it up on the official like One Piece websites, and then I realized that everyone got into all these regionals, and they were all like sold out. And it was like a lot of FOMO, but I think it did, you know, inspire me to like, you know, get better, improve, and then at some point, you know, I got my first top, and then, but it wasn't as good as Supra. So like, basically the whole way I was just like, how do I get better than this one guy who keeps winning? And that was like, you know, really humbling, really inspirational. Like we always look at the person that's in front of us that's like better than us, and we use that person as like kind of like a motivation to get better, and then, you know, hopefully try to overcome that person. I don't think I've personally overcome you yet, Supra, but I think I'm getting close to it, and you know, maybe if I win another regionals, I can say that I finally surpassed you.
Win another regionals, another.
I think Steven's like, that's all me.
Yeah.
No, but no, dude, I think it's cool.
No, I just meant to say he won the regional. It's another one.
I haven't won one yet. You're right. I haven't won one yet.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Hey,
Yeah,
you
no,
know,
but
if Swiss ended at 11 rounds and that was a regionals, I would be first. That would be my first regionals win. So
Well,
yeah, that'll be
think
sick.
next
about
time,
that.
right?
Think about that. No, but
Next time.
it's all cool, guys. Yeah, I mean, now that nationals is over, we do have a lot of events coming up. I do want to cover really shortly. The current event that's being passed around in all of our local game stores is the ST11 Uta Deck Battle. From February 2nd all the way to February 23rd. What do you guys think about the Uta Deck Battle?
Do you want to give the audience some background about the hiccup with the participation packs?
Yeah, so guys, for the audience members, this is the participation pack, consisting of 8 different cards. Some of it is exclusive to the event, which means that even if you buy the Uta starter deck, you will not have access to those cards. I think the World's Continuation and Taught Musica, and also Where the Wind Blows. Specifically, this card, Where the Wind Blows, is probably one of the most important cards in Uta film decks, where it's able to basically restand all of your film characters. This participation pack was supposed to be handed out to every participant that played in these events. However, Bandai made a very fatal mistake, and only 1 pack of these 8 cards were given to every local game store, which means that 8 different players would have to share all these promos, one card per person, instead of the normal scenario where every player was supposed to receive a pack of these 8 cards. All right, guys. Now that I've explained that situation, what do you guys think about the event? How has it been so far?
I think only a few of us has played so far, right? I think only me and you, Adrian.
Yeah.
And Steven, right? No?
No, I haven't. My first one tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah. So for yeah, by the way, more information for everyone is that this event is you pay an entry fee and you get 1 starter deck Uta battle. 1 starter deck Uta, and then you basically play with that deck. So everyone has the same sealed deck. And you play a best of 1 and you play 3 or 4 games. And if you come out undefeated, then you get this 1 Monkey D. Luffy winner card. It is holofoil, so it does look really, really cool. But yeah, yeah, go ahead.
I would say, like, after everything that you said about the Uta event, expect prices to just go crazy until Bandai releases the rest of the kit.
Yeah.
Like, as in self-proclaimed Uta main, I think this is not very ideal, because as a participant, I would have been excited to like get a pack of these, because you can probably build a deck right on that day. Like, if you're maining Uta, people don't like cards like Where the Wind Blows. You can get all these cards in one go, but by the time this comes out, Uta will probably just shift out, because she kind of doesn't survive in something, and it'll probably be just like a collector card by then.
Yeah,
So
Chewy.
I'm kind of sad for that.
Hey, pay to win.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Chewy. You being our resident green expert, do you think Uta really needs Where the Wind Blows to survive as a deck?
I don't think it does. Like against Sakazuki, I don't see it much use, because what are you gonna restand if you have no board? But I would only play it as like a 1 of or 2 of. Like, it's already good in the matches Uta's already good at.
Yeah. What do you think are outside of Where the Wind Blows? What do you think are playable or viable cards out of these 8 promos?
Well, 3 of them are AAs from the starter deck.
Yep.
And you play all 3, in my opinion. Aside from Where the Wind Blows, I don't think I would play any other. Because
what are the triggers on the events?
I think I'm Invincible's like Rad Beam or Guard Point, where you get 1k.
Yes. So
Where the Wind Blows is Activate Card Main.
I think
yes.
top music doesn't
No,
have
I
an
just took all
area.
yours of characters as like.
Say that again.
I said where the wind blows, it sets all your characters as active. Your fluffy characters.
At the end of the
It
turn,
doesn't,
yeah.
like, it doesn't activate main.
Funnily lift, you can play this in
Oh.
a non-film deck, and it could still trigger.
Yeah, that's the niche interaction.
So I actually got to choose that card where the wind blows. So hopefully it's a good card. So I can trade it for something or whatever.
Yeah.
It's probably the best one, so you got jackpot.
I think Neo Genesis is probably the best one. It's the only one you need 4 of.
But New Genesis you'll
Yeah,
get
that was
from the
pretty
start
good.
of it though.
But who doesn't want alt art Neo Genesis though?
I guess.
Yeah, New
But
Genesis
you'll
is
get
pretty
it
cool.
eventually, right?
I mean that art too. Come on.
Yeah.
I can see from a collector standpoint, if you can collect all of these green ones with the Uta collection that's coming out, like the all pink one, that'll be pretty cool.
Yeah. So yeah, New Genesis, I'm Invincible, and Backlight are basically the alt arts from the starter deck. So yeah, those are pretty cool cards. I guess we're saying that Fleeting Lullaby isn't going to be that useful. I mean, up to 2 of your opponent's rested characters with cost of 4 or less. Yeah, it isn't really applicable in like most scenarios, right? Because like Porcelino's usually gonna be not rested, and even if it is, it's still a 6k body. It's kind of annoying. What about this one, the World's Continuation? You guys like it?
I mean, you just the bouncing cards from your board to your hand is just
Yeah, it's
very
pretty
low
terrible.
Most of the
tempo.
time you'll have,
in a
like,
deck that needs to be
Luffy.
very high tempo.
Yeah,
Yeah, bouncing Luffy's and like, Nami's, that's really bad.
Dude,
It's really
yeah,
neg.
it sounds like it's not good at all.
yeah, it's terrible.
Like green is it's a board based deck, right? You don't want to remove your own board.
Yeah, what about
That's it.
Tot Musica?
Even worse, the worst one.
Oh no,
Oh, no.
Wait. But this stops your opponent from playing.
Big
Rad
Mom.
Beam.
Big Mom.
No, it doesn't. It because it only works.
Oh,
because,
no.
it's not. It's even worse.
It's like you basically take out their counter events if you use this. Oh
It's
my
it's
god.
bunny against GP Dopey.
It's
Sure.
Anti Whitebeard, anti GP Dofi, anti Nami, I guess.
I can see that, but I think it's a
Oh.
collector's piece.
Yeah,
I don't even
The
think
art
it's
is sick.
given to Nami though.
dang. Alright.
Ooh.
All right, where the
And
wind
this art
blows,
is crazy.
the best. All right, and then
This card is like overrated.
which card?
Honest, the one before where the wind blows is overrated.
You think so?
I'm just
Yeah,
saying
I
it's the
think-
one.
I
that's
think it's
good.
extremely
I'm kind of inclined to
overrated.
agree, actually. Yeah.
Realistically, you would only run like 1 or 2, right? Like you wouldn't run.
No,
any
you would
more.
never run more than one.
Yeah.
But you run one just because you're like, okay, I want to like solidify my like yellow matchup, or maybe my purple Luffy matchup.
Can you
But
imagine a
beyond
world
that-
where you just swing with all your pieces and then you play World of Wind Blows and then they all just restand and your opponent is faced with like 3 blockers?
Okay, but
Like-
you're also in a world where you have 5 units on board or have a full board, and in that world you're winning anyways.
Yeah, I was
Basically,
about
like
to say
a
that,
1 out of
but-
every 5, maybe more games.
All right. So what I'm saying is, Super, I'm gonna have to borrow that card so I can play a green deck. Thanks. Cause I'll only need
Gotcha.
one of it.
Can we talk about the next card?
This is the best
I
card
think
ever.
I unironically think this is the most playable of the promos.
Guys,
Yeah, I've actually gotten a lot of questions about the playability of this card. What do you guys think? Like, where would you fit this in? Like, which deck? And
I mean, 8 cost, 10,000 power. If you're able to play it on board, it's just invincible, right? It'll never be removed off field by battle. So pretty good, right?
Well,
I think
Why
I'd
not-
rather
I'd
rather
go
play like
later
another
and
Luffy.
play
What is this
Film
good against,
Luffy
though?
into Film Brook into Nami.
yeah,
wait,
I
yes, I'm
mean-
not even joking. This is actually like viable.
What is this
Wait,
good
wait,
against?
okay, hold on, guys. Pause. Steven, okay, in all seriousness, why would this be viable?
Because currently there's not enough film cards in your deck, like good film cards in the deck, right?
Yep.
So you have some slots that kind of go in, and you're kind of like, hey, like, do I want to play 2-cost Law? Like, you know, you have like 1 or 2 like base in your deck
Yep.
that you just need thought with the film card. This is a film card with counter 1k, and it's good into very specific scenarios, like against purple Luffy, where if you just get a big unit out, you can suddenly like be bigger than all their units. So it's actually like very niche, and it's actually like almost optimal over something like 2-cost Law, where there's almost no scenario where that card's like viable with the full-on Uta deck until the Mihawk comes out.
Chewy, didn't you have some like play with the 2-cost Law?
I like 2-cost Law. Like, if you have space to play like any character in 2 Dawn, like turn 2 you can play Law, and on turn 4 you can establish a Nami while attacking with Law and drawing a card, right?
The problem with that is you'd rather just play Brook. If you're on 4 Dawn, you want to play Brook.
I think the idea is you don't draw the card then, right? You
that's
miss out on
fine.
2 cards.
Yeah, but with a deck like Film, you just need to play for like high tempo. So you just want to jam the Brook, even if you miss the draw. Like, it's the same thing. Like when we had GP Dofi, if you're on 4 Dawn and you have Brook and Nami, you just play Brook, get out the Nami, even if you don't get the draw. It's the same logic. You just need bodies on the board as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's why I don't think Law is optimal, because even in the scenario where you want it, like that combo, that's not the best play. The best play is Brook. Well, there are situations on 8 Dawn where like you just want to keep cards in your hand, because like using something like the Luffy takes like 2-3 cards out of your hand. Sometimes all you need is 1 beat stick, and this card comes up in those like very grindy games.
Yeah.
Would you still fit in the 8 Luffy? Because I know some Uta decks want to run like, you know, 8 Kid and like 10 Dofi. Can you still fit this 8 cost in?
I mean,
it's searchable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is you need a certain ratio of film cards. So it's like a film card that's situationally good, and it's more situationally good than everything else in the game right now.
So it's kind of like
to that.
Yeah.
What would like the card limit be for like non-searchable film cards in like in the Uta deck? What do you guys think?
Cards have to be really strong. Like right now, you only use Izo and Dofi.
I'd say at most 10 cards. 10 cards is already like pushing it. So you have like Dofi / Kid and Izo. That's already 8 cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the general consensus is 10.
Yeah. So this guy, like he's good just as because he's the film. He's a big stat line. He's also a 1k counter. Because that's just good enough with the current film cards we have. As more come out in EBO1, this card obviously stops being viable, but we're in this small window where this card's actually viable.
All right, so
by the way, I also have this card.
Oh my gosh. All right, to wrap it up, what do you guys think with Uta the way it is now? Do you think Uta is a viable deck to play? Actually, wait, we're about to, you know what? Let's transition right away to our final talking point, which is the tier list, right? We're not going to be doing a tier list, but now that we're after nationals, we still have 3 regionals or 4 regionals before OP6 officially comes out, so there's still a good month of OP5 left to play. Let's talk about what's viable in the post nationals meta.
Just to clarify, there are 3 or 4 treasure cups, not regionals, but there are a couple more events before OP6.
I think there's some regionals in March, right?
No, but it comes. The set comes out early March, so it comes out before all those regionals.
Oh, does it? Okay.
Yeah.
I think it also depends on who will allow it, depending on when the set drops.
Yeah.
I think the set comes out like either the 7th or the 14th. Adrian, do you mind doing a quick Google search when the new set drops?
Yeah. OPO 6 release date. OPO 6 releases March 15th.
Yeah, so it comes out a week before all the regionals, so it'll be legal.
And coincident, yeah.
That'll be interesting.
Kata means baby.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm just gonna go over this really quick. We're gonna do 4 simple categories. First one being the best decks in format. These are the decks that you want to play if you want to top your regionals or your treasure cup, or just go undefeated overall. Then we have the competitive decks that are very strong in their own rights, and can beat any other deck, but lacks some sort of consistency issue, right? So if you do make it to the top of a regionals or treasure cup, you do expect these kind of decks to high roll a little bit, or at least more than half of the time. And then you have in the third category, you have viable decks that are very, very strong. You can take those to your local competitions or your store championships and possibly win, but getting into the top 32 for a regionals would require your deck to somewhat high roll quite a lot to make it there. And then you have the final category, which is copium, which means that you really, really just hope that you have all the right cards in every single game in order to compete. But yeah, over on the last row, I have all the somewhat playable decks in the OPO5 format. So we're gonna get started, guys, right? I think everyone here is in agreement that Sakazuki is #1 deck in the format, followed by NL as a close second. Do you guys think any other deck belongs in this category?
Purple Luffy, I think.
Goofy.
It did
Luffy
well.
has more Nats wins though.
That's true. It does have more nat wins.
Do we put Luffy above it now?
I don't think
I
so.
think there's an argument for it, actually.
I think like results wise, it might be above NL. Like just
Well, for us, NL won a regionals, and then it also won nationals, right?
But that's only in America.
Yeah.
NL
has-
has. Go ahead.
NL has not won a regional outside of America. It has not won an event outside America. It has not even won. I don't think it won any major events in Japan either. It's like the national deck of America.
that is fair too, because even in the top 8 for other regions, I think there was only like what 2 NLs or something. Like it's like less of a
It's true.
Yeah.
show.
Yeah,
But I think we can all agree Purple Luffy should probably be like at least under NL, right?
Yeah, I think it has
Yeah.
to be in this argument. I think if you're outside America, you would probably think PLuffy is above NL. I think NL being second is a very specific to the US worldview. Like even Latin America, like Purple Luffy won.
Yeah.
So I just would be a little bit mindful that maybe it's a very region specific thing that NL would be the second best deck. And that would be a pretty controversial opinion if you go outside the US.
Yeah, I mean, we do love our Slim Shady over here. But yeah, let's just say that they're at least tied, right? I think we'll just put them in the same row, in the same category. But yeah, let's go on. Yeah.
I guess just a quick little add-on. Do you guys find it interesting that Purple Luffy won Oceania in Latin America in a 500-man tournament? You would think Sakazuki would do well in that, right?
I'm not that surprised. Like, Luffy, I think, is one of the best decks to bring in a Swiss tournament. Super consistent. It would have been a great pick in North America, in my opinion, with how yellow dense it was. And it's pretty straightforward. It's very friendly to like a short tournament because you're not thinking too hard. You're playing 9 rounds, and yeah, you're winning out. And it can suffer to Sakazuki, but I think Luffy is widely misplayed as well.
Yeah, I think that the American scene hasn't really understood how Luffy is supposed to be played. So that would just be my like, if people ask, oh, I don't see Luffy in my like local event. I think it's just because PLuffy in other regions is played like a little differently. Like if you ever play on ranked at different hours and you're playing against like PLuffy from other regions, they play a lot differently than what we do in the States.
Yeah, some of those lists aren't running Magellans either, which is like, yeah, there's definitely something different going on.
Yeah.
Just for a little bit more background on this, like they play PLuffy much more. So America, we usually just swing with everything. They leave their units standing up. They're very board centric, very tempo centric, instead of us just recklessly aggressing with our PLuffys.
That seems like make it seem like we are the weaker region, but I think there's some truth to it. Our lists are just so much different from other Purple Luffy lists, and we do this one ranked ladder system for the One Piece TCG sim called the Ranked Sim League RSL. I'll post the link in the description, but a lot of our practice, really good practice comes from that Discord server, and that Discord server, the high elo, the top 50 players are mainly from Europe. And we can definitely see like a distinct difference in play style, and for the most part there's a lot of really strong players over in Europe, and I feel like if we didn't get a chance to play against those people, we would have been a lot worse off at our nationals. What do you guys think about that?
I agree with that.
Yeah. So I mean
about Kata though.
Well, yeah. Well, okay. Yeah. Let's move on. So the competitive decks, I think the very easiest to point at is going to be Katakuri over at the competitive deck side. You guys want to explain why it's in the competitive deck instead of best decks in format?
Very exploitable, but it's also really good because you just follow one line and you win.
I think Kata lacks some of the consistency that NL has. Well, it is also can like win off its triggers. It's also a very frustrating deck to play against. It's pretty exploitable in the fact that you don't have to always take their triggers. I mean, you don't always have to take their life. You can take their life when you're in a state to deal with triggers. On top of that, like the deck doesn't have much flexibility in its like plays. Like it can't answer every board state, so if you create board states that they can't answer, it puts them in a very awkward situation. For example, like if you sabo your board, a lot of times they can't get through it.
Yeah, I agree with Steven for the most part. Like Katakuri is scary because of the triggers, but they play the same way every single time. I think that there's very like compared to other decks, there's relatively little skill expression. So yeah, you can guess what they're gonna do for their next 3 or 4 turns if you have everything it takes to play against it, and sometimes even prepare for the triggers. Then you're often in a good spot. I think Sakazuki is for Sakazuki, Katakuri is like a really easy matchup. Purple Luffy has a clear edge, and I'd say that what do you guys think about the NL versus Kata matchup?
From my understanding, NL is slightly favored.
Adela just rushes him down and usually would win.
Yeah. So.
But if you stall, there's no way you're beating a Katakuri.
So I mean, just in general, yeah, Katakuri doesn't really have good matchups into the big 3. So yeah, it's sort of just relegated as the 4th best deck in the format. Is that a fair assessment, guys?
Sure.
I think so. For now.
Yeah, for now.
Can we talk about all the red decks kind of like at once?
Oh my gosh. Yep. So guys,
similar.
Yeah, let's talk about basically there's 3 red decks that really came into power over starting from last week in the EU Nationals all the way into our NA Nationals. These 3 decks sort of in order to adjust to the meta, it really just they each adopted a more aggressive route in their deck lists. With RP Luffy, basically playing rush Zoros and rush Luffys in order to bring down Sakazuki. Zoro being basically going the entire weenie route, just abandoning all defense and just going straight offense, playing as many one cost units as they can, and basically rushing down any opponent. And then Whitebeard having a new variation called the Gas Beard, which completely abandons the 9 cost Whitebeard, and just like RP Luffy, plays Zoro and Luffy, and as well as Ace to rush down his opponents. So go guys.
Being Red is probably Sokka's worst matchup in general as a whole.
Yep.
We can debate on which one specifically is the worst, but I think all of them do pretty well into Sokka. Like, if you're a Sokka player and you run to Red deck, you're kind of dreading it. But I think that when the Uta deck comes out and the meta will shift, these will eventually go down in effectiveness, but we can talk about that when we add Uta to the tier list and how that will shift things up.
Yeah. Super, how do you feel about Zoro right now?
I think just results wise, I think Zoro is strong. I think in EU Nats there was like a couple of Zoros that made top, like a 3 or 4 or so. And even for NA Nats, I think we had like 2, one of them being top 4.
Yeah.
So I think just based on that, super strong. Of course, you want to dodge the NL matchup, but even in the builds now, Zoro builds are running 4 or 5 cost Marcos, which do help with that matchup. And then even against Sakazuki, like if you don't have any of your other rushers and stuff, you can always play a Marco down. I wouldn't play it down just by itself. I would pair it with a Buggy or like Papa Rebecca, and then if Sokka doesn't have the Hound Blaze, then it's just super annoying to deal with, right?
Yeah.
Do you mind if I add one more thing onto just the Zoro?
Yeah.
Zoro in the EU Nats was actually the second highest, has the second highest appearance rate in the top 64 of any deck after Sokka. So it wasn't just like 2 or 3 tops; they had 11 tops.
Wow.
Right. Yes, you are right. You're right. Which is like crazy, like the conversion rate.
Yeah. It had the second most tops of any deck in the whole tournament.
That's actually kind of crazy, considering I think out of all 3 of these decks, probably Zoro has the worst matchup into an L, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I would say.
Yep.
But I think that just states about kind of like the US meta versus like the European meta. I think NL is less popular there compared to here in the States.
Yeah. So it's really interesting how every different like region has their own favorites and least favorites. I'd say before we get into the other 2 leaders, out of those 3 leaders, I'd say Zoro. Oh man, it's really hard. It's a toss-up between Zoro and Whitebeard as the most difficult, but I do think that Zoro has the best matchup into Whitebeard out of all 3. Do you guys agree with that? Or into Sokka?
Into Sokka?
Into Sokka, yeah. Zoro has the best matchup into Sokka out of all 3 of these guys.
I think Red Purple Luffy is probably the scariest to me if they're built right.
I'd agree with that.
Really?
Yeah. They ramp so fast, and the only way you can answer them or like beat them is like, can you bottom deck my 3 Whitebeards in a row? No? Well, get smacked.
The other thing is there's builds with the 5 cost unblockable Luffy. So all they have to do is play their 10 cost Gear 5 Luffy, and they just need to get you to 0 life, don't even need to kill you, and just have enough Dawn to like they leave up like 1 Dawn for a Red Beam and just survive, and then kill you on the following turn with an unblockable Luffy to just end the game.
Yeah. So I'd say that that concern is pretty justified. I think that RP Luffy is the most explosive out of all 3 of these decks in a sense that like one turn you feel like everything's okay, and then all of a sudden things just flip the switch. Because once it gets to that 8 Dawn, Luffy just goes insane, right? Just plays Whitebeard, and then at any turn after that they can just play the Gear 5 Luffy and just end the game. I do think that the reason why I feel that RP Luffy is an easier matchup than Zoro is because you can at least plan and prepare for Gear 5 Luffy, because Luffy only has 3 life, every Hound Blaze that you attach onto your Sakazuki, is really, really important, right? Like, you only need to swing 4 times successfully into RP Luffy. And so if you hit 3 Hound Blazes, you're getting him down to 0 life. So I think out of those 3 leaders, Luffy is the easiest to get into a lethal position.
Yeah, but you're saying like one you need 3 Hound Blazes, the other one you just need to draw 2 Luccis. We can like go back and forth about this either way.
That's true.
I think just to add to that, I think like Zoro is scared for Sokka during Swiss, and then I think in like Top Cut, I think like Whitebeard and RP,
Yeah.
Luffy's scarier. And then I say that because I know 2 guys from our locals that like went X and 3, like around X and 3 with Zoro, they were just crushing every Sokka during Swiss. And then I think I heard Jackson, which was second place for NA Nats, he actually had some practice with his friend, who I believe got top 4 with RP Luffy, and then Jackson wanted to dodge him throughout Top Cut, but they ended up playing. But yeah,
Jackson did end up winning that, but
right.
RP Luffy is very tailor made to beat Sokka. Well, the other 2 are still designed to have somewhat decent matchups across the board. RP Luffy is like very like Sokka heavy in its matchup spread, while everything else is a lot weaker than the other 2.
Yeah, like that guy's list was literally just to kill Sokka. I think he ran 2 Fire Fists in his RP Luffy.
Whoa.
And that was and then like Jackson actually, I think that was, I don't know if they were the same local or same team or whatever, but I remember hearing Jackson ran like a couple games with him like the night before, like 6 games, and Jackson got absolutely crushed by that RP Luffy. So
yeah. I mean, it's really interesting to see how we all have different fears. I think I'm a little bit biased because I did play RP Luffy in Swiss, and I was able to I don't think he low rolled at all, but I think that just being aggressive onto Luffy early, basically gave me some leeway in the matchup. And I played Supra, who I believe is one of the best Zoros in NA. And in practice, I would get crushed like 99% of the time. So I just have this overwhelming fear of Zoro that I can't get over. Like for Steven, you say that all you need is 2 Luccis, but it's not just you need 2 Luccis. You need 2 Luccis early in the game. If you don't find them early in the game, you just lose.
Yeah, but you can say the same thing about the Hound Blazes against RP Luffy.
It's not just the Hound Blazes, right? Because like the Hound Blazes is the easiest to swing to Luffy and make him lose a life. But as long as you're swinging 6 and above, Luffy doesn't have a big hand size because he doesn't have that much life. Like 3 life gives him a disadvantage no matter what. Right?
I think if you're playing against a list like what's his name? If you're playing against like a list like Victor's list, it's gonna be a lot harder. I think you just haven't. Correct me if I'm wrong. I just don't think you have played against that list.
I don't think most of us played against the list with Fire Fists. I think Fire Fist is actually a really good tech against Sokka.
Yeah, no, I ran a couple games after the event, just like with my locals. It's a really hard matchup.
For sure.
Also, just to add, I think it's technically like, I guess you can dig out your Hound Blazes with branding and stuff, whereas like for Lucci, it's like either you find them or you don't.
Yeah. And I think in these matchups, Rebecca is just like a lesser priority. But yeah, okay, let's move on to the last of the 3, Whitebeard. I've actually picked up this Gasbeard recently. I think it's actually a really, really strong deck. I think that is an underrated matchup into NL. I'm not saying at all Whitebeard is favored, but it's actually not as bad as the Zoro to NL matchup, right? Which is what we hope for, and I think it's really great into Sakazuki, and it's actually really great into Katakuri, but I think it's a little bit weaker to Purple Luffy. So what do you guys think about Gasbeard?
I think of the 3 decks, this one has the worst matchup into Purple Luffy. Well, the other 2 are actually, I think, slightly favored into Purple Luffy.
Yep.
So that's kind of the biggest con of Whitebeard compared to the other 2. The pro that Whitebeard has over the other 2 is it's super consistent. You draw 2 cards a turn.
Yeah.
And then, like, sorry, Chewy, I'm gonna put you in the spotlight. I think you had some experience against Whitebeard as an L during the main. Do you want to speak more about
Oh
that?
my god, it was my first matchup of the day, and I faced it. I'm like, yes, a favorite matchup right at the get go, and she drew me like 6 rush cards. But to be fair, she just kept swinging 6th leader and keep her units standing, so that way she can attack in waves, and that's kind of what like uh, did not help me at all because I didn't I was not triggering Thunderbolt, which would have helped a lot. And, I only have so much life. So if she keeps attacking me like 6 to 7 times a turn, I'm just going to fold.
Yep.
Yeah, and then you have no answer for it. So, like, I
And
guess
it's
that
not
matchup
even like
isn't
small
impossible,
attacks either. It's like
Yeah.
7Ks throughout the board at the very least.
So
Yeah.
it's like either you have that line or you have the nine beard line. So it's not too bad of a matchup,
Yeah. It's a strong deck. So like, between all of these 3 red decks, they're all like very competitive. But obviously, depending on what kind of meta that we're seeing, like if you predict what decks are going to be played more than the other, then you can start to see, a preference of which red deck you would bring to the table, right? If there's a lot of purple Luffy's, definitely don't bring Whitebeard. If there's a lot of NLs, don't bring Zoro. Some stuff like that, right? The next deck that I would like us to talk about, it's half red, half green. Trafalgar Law, that's been a viable deck at the very least since the inception. What do you guys think about Law, boys?
I think it just has too bad of a Sokka matchup to be really competitive. And Sokka just has such a high usage rate, especially at Nats, and it's predicted to in upcoming events. I think we would just put it unviable.
Yes.
Though I think its matchups across everything else is really good.
Some people, I don't know if it's cope, but I've seen here and there, like Nicky Golden, for example, he got, I guess he's gotten really good at the matchup because he top 64 at Nats. He lost his first round in top 64, but
to Sakazuki.
I also heard from him that he in Europe he faced like 7 to 5 Sokkas and he only lost to 2 of them.
Yeah, but like, what was his record in Europe, right?
I think he went 3, right?
Like, I don't want to put people on the spot that we're not close to, but when you put anecdotal evidence like that, you're kind of cherry picking the reality of it.
And he's probably like the best Law player that like NA has to offer.
Yeah, for sure.
I think most people aren't as good as him, so I think viable is a pretty good tier to place Law.
Yeah, like you would really have to be like a Nicky Goldman to even do something with Red Green Law, probably.
Yeah.
And then also to like add like a fun little fact, on X or Twitter, I guess recently from like today or yesterday, there's been some talks about a Singaporean player who, I don't know if he's well known or whatever, but he plays with all the other Singaporean pros, and he says the Sakazuki matchup is 50-50. And then I seen Cross post on there. He's like, Cross and some other dude, they were like, are you, they were like calling him crazy. And then, I had to drag Adrian in the conversation. So they were talking about some money matches going on. So hopefully something interesting happens.
Is that EBO1 or?
No, this is straight up, I think, OPO5 talk.
Okay.
And then it was like wild.
Damn.
Yeah, because the Singaporean players are currently in EBO1 where Law has gotten a bit more support.
Yeah,
so.
I also think I remember back in the LA 3-on-3, I remember Nicky saying that the matchup against Sokka is actually not too bad. I guess his record does speak for itself. He does have a positive win rate against Sakazuki, but he is a player of his caliber, and a lot of Sakazuki players, I'll be honest, I think the overall level of Sakazuki in North America is relatively weak, right? So a lot of Sakas just don't know what they're doing. And it's not to say that players aren't good, right? Players are good, at least good enough nowadays to execute Sakazuki combos correctly. But I think the biggest thing that separates Sokka players from each other is their cycling decision making, and that if you don't know how to cycle properly against Law, who's able to just swing at you 10 times around, you're probably gonna lose.
The way I would present it to the audience is like when you have a top 25 player in the world and you're just playing him against any random guy on Swiss, he's gonna be favored no matter what matchup he's in, right?
Exactly.
So I think a lot of times when Nicky's doing well in these events, it is just a skill diff.
Yeah.
Like he could play the Sokka mirror and still win.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Next up is Nami. So Nami's super interesting. I think we did have a top 64 Nami in North America. There was a top 8 Nami in EU Nationals. So at the highest level, Nami has always seems to perform with the same exact list that it has since forever. Guys, where would you put this? Because I really don't know.
I would
It is
put it
not
competitive.
copium.
What?
Sorry, he said it's not in copium, but I
Yeah,
said I
yep.
think it's in competitive.
Yeah.
What do you guys think, Chewy, Jeff?
I think it's better than Law, and Law's the only deck in viable. So yeah, competitive is right.
I think at least it's viable. I don't know if it's competitive because at the end of the day, it's just a skill check for most games, and I think Sokka's really favored into Nami.
Yeah.
Would we put it above the red decks?
No, absolutely not.
No,
No.
But
I think it's below competitive and high and viable. It's like either one, right?
Yeah.
I think you guys always underestimate this deck, and then it always tops 8. Like
That's true.
Yeah,
this is
this-
like the most frustrating thing. Last time you guys want to put it under RP Law.
Okay.
You guys deck its respect.
You guys
Give
know
the
Adam,
deck its respect. It's a
Okay.
good deck.
you guys know Adam Cisneros, like the guy who got first in the 3v3.
Yeah.
He
Oh,
went
yeah.
X2 at Nats, so he did really well with the deck. Just got
Oh
bubbled
wow,
out.
he brought Nami. Holy shit. Okay.
Yeah, he did it with Nami. So.
Yeah. All right.
I feel like
We're
you guys always just underestimate this deck because you guys don't play it and you guys don't understand the deck. But I think the deck's really strong.
all right. You Nami lover, calm down. No, I agree. I think Nami should get a lot more credit than we give it for. I wouldn't ever put it above the red decks because right now I'd rather play any of the 3 red decks than to play Nami into a regionals or a treasure cup. So I think putting it right at the bottom of competitive decks seems reasonable enough. All right.
I like
Before we get into the last one, which is going to be Uta, I just want to say something about RP Law. I personally played it for a while. I was really high on RP Law. I do see that there has been a couple of finishes on RP Law in Europe and in NA. However, I think the deck is cope, and I think that needs to be a lot of things going right for this deck to work, for the pieces to be moving. The deck breaks a lot. There's not too much defense. I'm just not a big believer, and if anyone here disagrees with me, please speak your piece, because I really dislike the deck.
I agree. I think it's probably Cope. Even though there was the guy at EU Nats that did top 64.
Yeah.
Let's explain the top though. I think the reason why Law tops is one, it's a matchup check. A lot of people, like when you play RP Law at your locals and you don't have an RP Law player, have to read every single card.
Yes.
And that's gonna be the same at regionals too. Like you're gonna have a lot of people who've never seen it, and then against a couple of people who've seen it, you just have to high roll, and then you can get there.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I think if it becomes a widespread deck, it's just not gonna. It's like kind of cope. It's good when people don't expect it.
Yeah.
When people expect it, it kind of falls apart.
Yeah.
It just feels like an incomplete deck, in my opinion. Like, it gets way better later, but right now it's just trying to do too much. Like, it loses gas too fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you have to high roll for you to be able to, so.
Not having a consistent searcher hurts it. Not having consistent draw hurts it. I think right now its only good matchups are, it barely is viable into Sakazuki. I think it's actually pretty good into Zoro. It's actually decent into red decks, surprisingly, right? RP Luffy is a little bit difficult. Katakuri is the most free matchup for RP Law. But
That
then
is so free.
yeah,
It doesn't matter, dude. I have beaten a Katakuri that's triggered like 3 or 4 times, and they play Big Mom, and it's still free.
yes.
It's like wild.
If this meta was dominated by Katakuri, RP Law would be viable. But yeah, Purple Luffy craps on Law. Like NL, I think Starve NL gives Law some sort of problems. So there's just not too great of a matchup spread here in North America for Law. And I think yeah, Copium is exactly it. You are playing the Copium game whenever you play Law in a competitive format. All right, last but not least, what about Uta, aka Kid 2.0?
Well, I wouldn't say that. It's more like Grape Dofi 2.0.
Chewy?
It's definitely competitive. I would say almost at the top, in my opinion.
Woo! How so?
I think
Damn.
I
since
think
we're doing
what
this
the
in
more
between. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'm biased, but it has a really good NL matchup. I was testing Kid before. I almost brought it to Nats actually, but its problem is that it lost gas against Sakazuki because you can even double swing and they just wall up. They have this new event called Backlight, right? It can rest Sabo or anything on their field, or acts as a removal piece as well, and they're drawing 2 cards every turn. So a deck that gets hand advantage plus board presence is really strong. It's really strong. It's all yellow. It kind of will gatekeep red. Also, like green has always been pretty good into red, and yeah, it's super easy to get into too.
I actually want to. I think the more interesting discussion here is how the meta shifts with the introduction of Uta. So right now we've placed everything with the assumption that Uta isn't there. Uta is going to be a very popular deck in upcoming regionals just because it's a fan favorite leader.
Yep.
On top of it's something new and different. So I actually think we need to actually rearrange the tier list now that we add Uta in, and that's going to be a much more interesting discussion.
I think the big question is how does the Sokka versus Uta matchup?
It's going to be Sokka favorite.
Yeah, I don't think anything changes unless new cards are introduced. Like Sokka's just by and far like the most strongest deck, with the exception of rush red to try to clear it before the hand advantage becomes too much.
But one thing I do want to point out is like something like Enel, we will fall from best deck in format to competitive because Uta is such an impressive matchup for it, and Uta will be you expect to be at least 2 or 3 rounds of a regional, so you actually would move it down.
Yeah.
Other decks that you could probably move is like Whitebeard actually will surpass the other 2 because Zoro and I know for sure Zoro will have a bad matchup. No, sorry, RP Luffy would probably go up. Whitebeard would probably stay down. Whitebeard has a problem with the 10 cost Dofi, and then Zoro has an issue with just so many draw encounters.
Yeah, I can see that. Especially if Uta runs ACOS Kid, like that red matchup is done. It's just done.
Go ahead.
And then Nami, something like Nami also actually goes up because Nami's actually really good into the film package, which is very interesting how that interaction works. But like something like Grape Dofi, Nami struggled against Kid because the double string, but it actually had a good matchup into Grape Dofi into like OP 4.5. So it's actually really interesting that something like Nami and like RP Luffy will go up, and maybe like Whitebeard and Zoro's will go down. Same with Enel will probably go down a little bit. It's really interesting to see how the meta will shift now that Uta joins the fray.
Wait, so
the meta. Go ahead.
Yeah. So Uta is gonna be good into Enel. What about Katakuri? Is it so are they sort of on the same boat?
It's even better into Katakuri.
Because of that film Kid matchup versus Katakuri, so Uta's just
it's pretty bad. Like even Grape Dofi, just like it did well in 4.5 because of its great Kata matchup. And Uta's just the better version of that.
Into yellow, right?
Yeah. Basically, it just goes so wide so fast, and it has so many good like defensive tools.
You know, if it's as bad as you guys say, right? And Uta is gonna be, somewhat. Every green player is going to pick up Uta, right? Without a doubt. Chewy, I know you're gonna play that deck. So
I will be playing it for the rest of set 5.
So yeah, I mean, if we think of it this way, right? It would even be would it be too much to say that we would push the two yellows behind Nami and RP Luffy?
Probably not.
Got it.
RP Luffy actually gets a huge stock because it's actually pretty decent into the Uta. Because Uta actually usually has a pretty good hand size and loss is high.
Yeah.
What about like Uta going wide and just hitting a barrage of sixes? Wouldn't that kind of hurt RP Luffy?
It's annoying, but it's not like really. Reality is like RP Luffy with the introduction of Uta probably just adds in like 7 cost kid back, which like shuts down your early aggression with your Brooks and stuff. So the meta, like decks will change. Purple Luffy has the tools.
Yeah.
And I think the meta is gonna shift like twice, maybe, because I believe the first version that's gonna be popular is gonna be with Dofi, and that may top here and there in the first couple treasure cups. So while it gets more popular, you're gonna see people like putting 8 cost kid to kind of counter the Uta matchup, and that's gonna lessen the green because 8 cost kid just stops green in its tracks. So there's gonna be like sub metas between every week, kind of.
Sure, but that's like with any event, like event to event, like there will be always like slight shifts as tournaments results come out. I think this is just like kind of a broad prediction.
Yep.
I believe next weekend is when Uta can be used. Not this treasure cup for tomorrow, but next weekend. Right? Yeah. So like, I would not be surprised if Uta top 8s. Like, there, I don't think there's no surprise there, right?
Yeah. I would even expect it. Yeah, I'd even expect it. I think yellow is going to be pretty widespread. Uta's going to come in here and just kind of wreck all the yellows. It's going to be pretty exciting.
Are not going to be ready, especially in the US Pluffies are just aren't that strong to begin with. So Uta's going to just come up and have a fun road stomp like the first week, but then I think people will adjust.
Yeah.
Basically, Chewie's making top 8.
If only I could have.
At the very least.
If I get it waitlisted, like into the event next week, I am definitely topping with Uta.
Dude, whatever cards you need, I got you.
Yeah, but I think like, does anyone disagree with any of these shifts that we just made, real quick?
I agree.
No, I think it makes sense. I know for sure Law's still copium down and below, so there's
the RG Law might actually how good is that matchup? Nah, it doesn't have that amazing
like into Uta, but Uta has like backlight, right? So it's gonna gain card advantage, attack a lot. It's gonna rest law blockers or small chunk blockers. So like, I think Uta would be like, Film Kit was kind of bad, but Uta has more tools, while more board presence as well.
I think Blacklight is like the huge difference. Just 2 mana pop.
Yeah. It's kind of like a Maru, basically. All right. All right, boys. This was our tier list. We said it was going to take 15 minutes, but ended up taking a lot longer. So we're going to wrap up this podcast over in the 90-minute time frame. So, guys, thank you so much for shooting the shit with me, and this was really fun. I think we're gonna be doing a lot more of these podcasts in the future, this Gear 5 podcast. So if you guys enjoy what we do, enjoy us talking and just chatting about One Piece, like we always do, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. All right, guys.
Peace.
Yep, peace. Everyone, bye.